Crisis facing Christian communities in Plateau State. Plateau State in central Nigeria, has over recent years become a center of escalating violence, particularly affecting Christian farming communities. Although often framed as a resource-based conflict between farmers and herders, there is growing concern over the religious and ethnic dimension of the crisis, as most targeted communities are predominantly Christian. Pattern of violence. Since around 2018, a disturbing pattern has emerged across many parts of Plateau State. Armed groups, often linked to radicalized elements within Fulani herder communities, have carried out coordinated assaults on rural villages, especially during the night when residents are most vulnerable. Coordinated community attacks. These incidents typically involve the destruction of homes, food stores, and places of worship. Villagers are frequently forced to flee, often on foot and without warning, leaving behind all belongings. The goal appears to be the clearing of entire communities, many of which have existed for generations. High casualty incidents. In December 2023, a wave of violent raids swept through 23 villages on Christmas Eve. Over 300 individuals lost their lives, many while attending holiday celebrations. In March and April 2025, at least 126 more were reported dead, with several villages in Bokos and Bassa LGAs affected. Destruction of infrastructure. In addition to homes, attackers often target schools, clinics, and churches. In many cases, the destruction appears systematic, leaving communities without basic services or shelter. Displacement and community loss. The widespread insecurity has led to a significant humanitarian crisis. Entire populations have been uprooted from ancestral lands. More than 1.5 million people, mostly from Christian backgrounds, have been displaced across Nigeria's Middle Belt region. Many now live in IDP, internally displaced persons camps, churches, or temporary shelters with limited access to food, clean water, or health care. Abandoned villages are frequently reoccupied or repurposed, often without due legal process, raising concerns of demographic restructuring, religious and ethnic dimensions. While environmental stress and land disputes play a role, many observers argue that religious identity is a key factor in the violence. Several characteristics of the attacks suggest religious targeting. Communities attacked are overwhelmingly Christian. Numerous churches have been destroyed, while nearby mosques are often left untouched. Witnesses have reported religious chants during assaults and the desecration of Christian symbols. Christian leaders, rights groups, and international observers describe this trend as deliberate and persistent. Organizations such as Open Doors, Aid to the Church in Need, and Christian Solidarity International have documented these trends extensively. Impunity and government inaction. A major source of frustration among local communities is the lack of effective protection or justice. Security forces are often slow to respond or absent entirely, even during prolonged attacks. Arrests of perpetrators are rare, and successful prosecutions are even less common. Some victims and religious leaders have voiced concerns that authorities are not doing enough to address or even acknowledge the religious aspect of the conflict. In some areas, displaced persons have attempted to return, only to find their land occupied or unsafe. This has contributed to a cycle of vulnerability, trauma, and instability. Calls for action and international attention. International advocacy groups and humanitarian organizations have called for independent investigations into the root causes and patterns of attacks, greater protection for vulnerable communities from both state and non-state actors, policies to ensure safe resettlement and restoration of displaced populations to their ancestral homes. Despite widespread documentation, global response has been limited. In 2021, the United States removed Nigeria from its list of countries of particular concern for religious freedom violations, a decision widely criticized by human rights advocates. Conclusion. The crisis in Plateau State is complex, involving issues of land use, identity, governance, and religion. Yet the consistent targeting of Christian communities, the scale of displacement, and the destruction of cultural and religious heritage suggest a deeper, more deliberate campaign that requires both national and international attention. For lasting peace, the root causes must be addressed, justice must be served, displaced people must be protected and resettled, and communities must be allowed to live without fear on their ancestral land.